Welcome to Jarwaves, fellas. Today we are going to talk about essential tools that you need to know when it comes to Lightroom.
This is going to be a comprehensive review. My name's Lightroom.
Shut up!
Let's get right into it. I'm not going to go through the obvious tools, which is the exposure tools, whereas I'm going to be going through some of the tools that get overlooked, especially if you're brand new to post-production and if you're just getting into photography. These are some of the tools that you need to pay attention to if you want to stop using LUTs, stop using filters. I don't recommend using filters. If you plan on pursuing photography as a career, don't use filters. You need to learn how to make filters and how to match your images to filters that other people use, but don't use it for your photography. So the first tool that I'm going to talk about is the Tone Curve, or more widely known as the Curves tab. It's actually a fundamental tool which, if you know how to use curves, you can use it on Premiere Pro, you can use it on After Effects, Photoshop, Lightroom. It's like a universal thing when it comes to making videos or taking images. And a lot of things can be achieved using the Curves tab or the Curves tool. For example, a lot of people DM me and ask me, how do you get that vintage washed out look that you kind of get from film cameras? And it's so easy. All you have to do is place a point in the middle of the curve, place a point in between the bottom and the middle of the curve, and then just grab the tail end or the bottom end of the curve and just pull it up. And that just washes out your shadows and gives this really nice vintage warm look. So some of the fundamentals that you need to know about the tone curve is what is represented by what area. So for example, if you look at the top part of the curve, that's where all the highlights and the whites are controlled. And if you go to the bottom or the tail end of the curve, that's where the shadows and the blacks live. And obviously the middle is where the mid-tones live. I'm gonna add a link to Peter McKinnon's tutorial that he did on the tone curve and the updated tone curves on Lightroom. It's a pretty amazing, very in-depth tutorial, so go and check that out. You can learn a lot more there than what you can learn from me. So make sure you check that out. The second tool is the HSL or the color tab. This is where most of the magic happens. The Adobe Suite divides everything on your image essentially into 8 colors. So under these 8 colors, you can control 3 things, which is the hue, the saturation, and the luminance. Now the hue tab allows you to push these 8 colors into their adjacent. This YouTube thing is really giving me like a multitude of accents. The hue curve allows you to push these 8 colors into their adjacent or adjacent, damn accent. So the hue tab allows us the option to push these 8 colors into their adjacent colors on the color wheel. If you take the color red, for example, you can use the hue slider and push it either towards orange or push it, into magenta. Now this hue tab is very popularly used when you want to turn the leaves of trees, from green to like yellows and oranges, or brownish orange, to get that fall kind of white from your images. So the saturation tab allows you to determine how much color you're going to make available for the image. If you want to turn the image into black and white, you just grab all the sliders and move it to the left and completely desaturates the image so that you'll have a black and white image. Now the luminance is the brightness of each color. A lot of people get this confused with the saturation tab. Now the saturation tab lets you control the level of color, and the luminance lets you control the brightness. They're 2 different things. Once you start moving them around, you'll understand it. It's really hard for me to explain because my English isn't that good. Where would you start when it comes to using the HSL or the color tab? I would recommend that you start with the saturation tab. Remove all the colors from your image. Now there's a reason why black and white images are sort of a desirable look. They make your images look slightly better because you're giving it a monochrome effect. You're taking all these colors that are distracting you and just bringing it into 2 colors. Now you can achieve this using the HSL tab by first removing all the colors of the image. You have 8 options, remove all of them and start reintroducing one by one. Now by just doing that, I've already got this stylized look to this image that I was showing you guys earlier, and it's, you know, it's bringing it close to the point where I could post it online. So mess around with the tabs and the sliders and see what it does to your image, because you need to instinctively know that, okay, if I'm going for a fall look, I need to take all the greens and push it towards the oranges and the browns, and you know, because orange, the opposite color is teal. If there are any blues in the image, push it towards, you know, the teal, and then by that you achieve the teal and orange look. And you know, I'm rambling on, but forget about it. Removing and reintroducing colors just to figure out what happens when you do that. And once you know that, and once you understand that, over a period of time, it's going to help you edit your pictures better. So finally, the most underrated tool, in my opinion, in Lightroom is the mask tool, especially the gradient mask tool. If you take a look at this image that I shot a couple of weeks ago, predominant part of the image is the sky. Now I've purposely underexposed the image a bit to retain that sky a bit, but when you fix the exposure, you're gonna increase the overall brightness of the image to bring up the bike, or to make the bike a little bit more prominent. And as a result, the sky is just going to get white. So what would you do? What would you do to bring back that color? Is just to use a gradient filter, so that you can, you know, make the top part a little dark and the bottom part a little brighter. Now this is used a lot, pretty much all the time when it comes to landscape photography. And if you're not using it, you should probably do some research and, you know, see how you can incorporate it into your old image. Go and dig out all your old images and take a look at where you've had half of the image having a sky and the rest having land. Play around with it and see how it affects your images. So there you have it, guys. I hope this video would have answered all you guys that DM me about presets and the presets that I use. I don't use presets. I literally hate them. I wasted so much money buying other people's presets. I wouldn't recommend you to do the same. And hopefully all your frustrations about why your filters aren't working have been reduced with this video. And if not, then I guess you can dislike the video. And then guys, subscribe to the channel, like the video. If you have anything that you want to talk about, go ahead and, you know, punch it in the comments, and we can have a conversation down there, and I'll answer any questions that you have. And if you want me to, you know, make a little bit in-depth video of all of these tools that are available, you know, let me know in the comments or message me on Instagram and I'll try and get to it. Also, I've done a lot of editing tutorials on the channel. I'll link a playlist to all the photography editing videos that I've done, so you guys can go and take a look. I do go into proper detail in those images or in those videos, as opposed to just giving you an overlook like I did right now. So yeah, take a look and let me know if any of this helps.